Hey guys, Lucy here, and today I shall be doing my February wrap-up and my March TBR jar pick. February was a much better reading month for me than January was. January was a crazy month, and February was much calmer. I read 12 things in total. I also low-key, kind of, not really strictly though, participated in Contemporary-a-thon. I used it as just an excuse to help motivate me to read more, and it did just that. I read a lot this month. I kind of loved everything that I read, and it was just a really great reading month and the month that I needed because January was just not that great. I want to include a little bit more of statistics in my videos. The total pages that I read all throughout February was 2,503, which to me sounds kind of high. It sounds like a lot. So I read 6 5-star books, 4 4-star books, and 2 3-star books, but they weren't 3-star books. There was a 3.5 and a 3.75 in there. So first, we'll actually talk about my TBR jar pick. That was, if you didn't watch my January wrap-up, that was The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare. I absolutely love this. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I am so happy I finally read this, and I love this story. It's one of my favorites. I've always loved it. It's been a favorite for years now, and I'm so happy I'm not a fake fan anymore and I can say I officially read it and I loved it. So funny, honestly. I was shocked. I was not expecting to laugh out loud reading a play, and I laughed out loud. That's how funny this story is. So the next book that I shall be talking about is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. Oh my god, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved this. I had started this back in 2017 and I read about 100 pages, and then I was enjoying it. I was interested. It was compelling, and I thought, okay, worst case, I'll still enjoy this book. Don't know if it'll be one of my favorites, if I will end up loving it by the end. This was such an interesting reading experience for me because I find myself the type of person who has to be either plot or characters have to be out of the park for me. I think I'm a big character person. I'm very into characters and liking my characters, and this book, I didn't like anybody. This book centers around a town in Naples that it's imperfect. It's very flawed. It's rough. It's a poor town, and there's a lot of heavy things that the people in this town have to deal with. It does have slight trigger warnings for sexual assault and kind of domestic abuse type of stuff. If you're sensitive to parents and children and stuff like that and that dynamic, I would be forewarned because that's a very heavy theme in this. A very intense read. And you're not rooting for anybody, surprisingly. I was really shocked by how much I didn't really like anybody, and it wasn't oh, well, they have their flaws, but I still like them. It's I don't know if I like them, but I still don't know what happens to them. Also, I have never read an entire novel where I hate I'm not exaggerating, every single male. No exception. Every single male guy character I absolutely despised. I am hoping that this centers around 2 girls and them growing up, and this centers specifically around their adolescence. So I'm hoping as the series goes on that maybe some of the male characters improve slightly, because right now they're all trash. And I wasn't expecting it to be kind of a cliffhanger. The ending, I was are you serious? Did that just happen? I was shocked. I was what? My brain was exploding. And this is so unlike a book I didn't think I would like, because it reads so much like a diary, someone's life that they're just documenting and they're just talking about. And it doesn't, if someone were to describe this to me, I would not think that I would like it, but here I am, loving it. I'm very excited to get to the rest of the series. The last physical book that I have in my hands that I'll be talking about is a book that I've had borrowed from my friend for a really long time now. It's been like 6 months. It's been like a really long time, and I just never got around to it. And that is Sister by Rosamund Lupton. Now, this is a thriller. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I think it's like a really good book to go into knowing nothing about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to read it because my friend personally recommended it to me. And I was like, okay, I'll at least enjoy it. You know, while I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I'll at least enjoy this. You know, I'll have something to talk about. I cried. Oh my God. I was like almost sobbing. The twists and turns in this were so good. Now, what's interesting is that I guessed the whodunit, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna have to bring the rating down for that, you know, because that's part of what makes a thriller. But that wasn't actually what made it the most interesting. What made it the most interesting was everything around it and the motives and how it all ended up unfolding. And there's this plot twist at the end that is so shocking. Like, I was messed up for days with this one. Even though I guessed who had done it, everything else was totally unexpected. This right here is the good stuff. It talks a lot about basically this woman's sister dies. And it goes into a lot sibling/sister relationships, and I am a sister. I have sisters. Had I not been a sister/have sisters, maybe I wouldn't be as emotional, but as a person who feels very strongly about my siblings, this made me very emotional, so highly recommend. So the next 5-star book that I read was Misadra by Yasmin Omar Atta. I hope I am saying that correctly. I did look up this author's name in like an interview. I hope that's correct. This is a graphic novel, basically about the author writing about our main character in college dealing with epilepsy and his experience with it and trying to juggle everything, and it also made me cry. Was not expecting to cry as much this month as I did. It was such a visually stunning graphic novel, and it talked a lot about, which I deal with and struggle with, sick people, chronically ill people, dealing with medical professionals who don't want to listen to you, who don't want to listen, and you knowing that it's something more than just anxiety, and constantly basically being told that it is anxiety. I personally have been fighting for over a year now, trying to get a big part of my health issues that have been like hindering me to the point where I can't function. For a year now, I've been fighting, trying to tell doctors that it's not a psychiatric problem, and I just now finally, after going to all of the psychiatrists, finally had them go, yeah, no, this isn't it. This ain't it, chief. And it's a struggle. It's an everyday struggle. It's a thing that many sick people deal with, where basically if they can't figure out what's wrong with you, they're like, oh, it's just all in your head. And it's a very defeating feeling. And this really captured that really well. Really touched me personally, obviously. The next book that I actually be talking about is The Grift of the Magi by Ali Carter. This is book 3.5 in the Heist Society trilogy/series. It's a novella that takes place after the third book in the series. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was absolutely wonderful. I don't know why I didn't read it sooner. I just hate reading anything on my Kindle, frankly. I had bought the ebook and I've had it for like 3 years now, and I just never read it, and now I finally read it and I really loved it because the Heist Society trilogy is one of my favorite series of all times. It's so good. It's basically about a family of thieves, and it's so good and like always not what I'm expecting, and it's just so good. And the last 5-star read that I read in February was Quiet Girl in a Noisy World by Debbie Tung. This was Debbie's, I think, her first graphic novel. I just recently read Book Love, something like that, by her through NetGalley, and I really enjoyed it. And basically this is a book about Debbie's personal experiences dealing with being an introvert, and I've kind of wondered for a little bit if I'm an introvert, and I definitely am. This book was really wonderful. I really loved it. I related to it a lot, and February was just about the month of me relating to things and feeling emotional about it. It had a really good like message to it, I thought. It ended really well, I thought. She recognized that like, okay, this is how like my brain works, but like it doesn't mean that I shouldn't try to... What is going on? It sounds like NASCAR out there. Anyway, even though your brain works this way, that you shouldn't still try to like kind of fight certain urges to do things that will actually end up making you feel good, even though your brain's trying to psych you out and tell you that you're gonna feel like crap. Really enjoyed it. If you're an introvert or want to know how introverts think, I personally thought this was a really good graphic novel and really displayed it quite nicely. The next 3 books I'm just going to talk about all together, and that is Lumberjanes Volume 7, 8, and 9. Love Lumberjanes so much. I just love Lumberjanes so much. My new library finally has like current volumes. I'm just so happy because I could only read up to a certain amount with my old system, and now I can read them, and I just love Lumberjanes. I don't really have much to say. I'm so far into the series that just like I'm just out here enjoying it, having a good time. The last 4-star book, I think that's the last 4-star book. Yeah, the last 4-star book that I shall be talking about is Paper Girls Volume 5. I love this series. It's really getting kind of interesting, although I am definitely, before the next volume comes out, going to start again from the beginning because it's so convoluted that I'm a little lost. And I read the previous volume not that long ago, but I'm just a little lost. I feel like the reason this isn't like a 5-star series for me is because I feel like once it's finished, it'll be a very cool entire piece of like work. But right now, they're still setting up so much, and it's just confusing. You kind of like, you might get one thing answered, but 15 other things open up. So it's like constantly like, you kind of don't know what's going on. You kind of do. It's a very intense graphic novel series because it's like time travel, and that alone is confusing. But overall, I do still really enjoy it, and I thought as the series goes on, it's definitely gotten more interesting, and I'm very interested to see where the series goes. The second to last book that I shall be talking about is California Dreamin' by Penelope Bagu? I don't know. Covers here. This is just something I picked up on a whim, just something I wasn't planning on reading, didn't have on my radar, but I saw it in my library, loved the cover, obvious reasons, and decided to pick it up. And it is all about Mama Cass from The Mamas and the Papas, and I loved it. I gave it 3.75 stars. And the reason I gave it that is because it was, I think, so well done. Like, I knew nothing really about any of Mama Cass's history or anything like that, but this, I thought it felt very like authentic. After looking up like on Wikipedia later details about her, it seemed very accurate, and the way that it was written for a graphic novel was very cool. It actually gave you different viewpoints, which is very rare. Like, whole chapters would be from different characters' viewpoints, and you're seeing different things in the timeline seen from like another angle, and I really enjoyed that, and that's really what gave it like such a high rating for me. The ending, because it's based on like a true real life person, wasn't satisfying at all. It didn't really end. It had like a non-ending, I would describe, but it was a real story. I love reading about fat characters. Yeah. Last book that I'm going to be talking about is Be Prepared by Vera Brosgol. believe that's the author's name. I gave this 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people rate it low and I don't know why. After I read the author's note, I viewed it, I think, a little bit higher. She described that it's basically based on her personal account of going to camp. It centers around a girl going to camp, and I want to say 70s or 80s. She is Russian, of Russian descent, and she goes to like a Russian summer camp. It's very interesting how the camp worked, and there was actually like Russian in the graphic novel, which was cool. I liked it because it didn't have a happy ending. Like, it didn't end with her doing this and dealing with conflict and then everybody being friends and it's like, well, it's okay, everything's all right, we're all friends in the end. It didn't end like that. It ended in a very real way. I liked that a lot. Those were all the books that I read in February. Let's get into my TBR jar pick. A little nervous, not gonna lie. I don't have any reading plans for March. Like, I'm participating in a readathon, but other than that, I don't have any plans, so I shouldn't be nervous, but I'm still nervous. Because I was nervous last month. In case you missed it, this is a TBR jar with all of the classics that I own that are all the way up there on that shelf, and I just wanted to make it a priority this year to read them. Let's do it, y'all. Right. Hopefully this is good. If it's not, I'm gonna be okay. I really didn't. Okay, so to explain, I am reading Shakespeare this month. I'm reading Othello because it's part of the We Read the Bard book club. I own it. I figure, hey, a great classic to get off my shelf. I just picked Richard III, which is another Shakespeare play. So here's what we're gonna do. If I feel so motivated to somehow read 2 Shakespeare plays in 1 month, then I will read both. But I think I can get away with it because I'm reading Othello already for the book club. I think I can kind of get away with that. We'll see what ends up happening, but those are the plans for right now. We might make an exception, you know? It's all about me making my own rules. That's it for what I read in February. If you read any of these, please let me know down below. I'd love to know your thoughts. I always love hearing people's thoughts on things. If you want to, you can go ahead and subscribe. I try to post every week. My social media is also down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I shall see you in the next one. Bye.